Hey guys, Sam here, and welcome to another review. And do not worry, you will still see my lovely face again in future videos. This is just the best way I could do reviews for right now. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about a show that I've never really talked about in all the years I've been on YouTube. That's Declassified School Survival Guide. It was a show that aired on Nickelodeon from 2004 to 2007 for about 3 seasons and a total of 54 episodes, but they had about 2 stories in each one, like the SpongeBob episodes. It was clever, helpful to middle schoolers, funny, and very memorable. Not bad for a show that was created by Scott Fellows. Yes, the guy that also created Johnny Test. Huh, that's definitely something. You managed to have a hit show with both Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. So, since we are still in the month of love, I figured I would look at this show's Valentine's Day episode. And since I reviewed an episode about what the day is like for elementary school kids, it's time to see how it is for pre-adolescent teens. Is it any good? Does it stand out in any way? Well, let's find out. And I think you know the drill by now. First comes summary, then comes thoughts. And then there's a baby in a suit like a boss. Hey, I had to come up with a rhyme somehow. Anyway, here we go. It's Valentine's Day at Polk Middle School, and our favorite trio, Ned, Mose, and Cookie, have got their plans ready for this day. Ned wants to give a special Valentine to his crush, Susie Crabgrass, Mose wants to give hers to her crush, Seth Powers, and Cookie wants to become the hottest boy in school by getting the most roses. But as you would expect, those plans don't go according to plan. Let's start with Ned first. For Ned, all he wants to do is make the best card he can for Susie. But he also gets coerced into making an anonymous Valentine for the huge crew, 3 girls who go absolutely nuts when they don't get a Valentine. So, to be nice, Ned makes one for them. Then, when the last call for Valentines is announced, he hurriedly finishes up the cards and hands them in. After that, he meets up with Susie later and asks her about what she thought about the card. But much to his surprise, she doesn't have a big reaction over it. That's because Ned accidentally gave her that anonymous Valentine, which means that the mushy Valentine for Susie went to the huge crew. Oops. And cue the dramatic no. So, fearing for his life and knowing what the huge crew will do when they find him and thank him, Ned tries to hide from them. Does he make it out alive? Well, I'll let you know later. Now it's time to talk about Mose's story for a bit. All Mose wanted to do was give a Valentine to her crush Seth, but that plan gets dashed when she finds out that Seth is going out with someone else. So now she gets in that hateful mood many have during this time of year. But things get worse for her when she finds out that she got the most roses out of every girl in her grade, making her the hottest girl in school. When she finds out, she's flattered but understandably humble about it. But then things become a nightmare for her when the nerdy boys start chasing after her, so she tries to hide by disguising herself as Gordy the janitor. Now, does she get out of this unscathed like Ned too? Well, before we find out, let's get to Cookie's story, because his story ties into the others at the end. Like I said before, he wants to be the boy that gets the most roses. That way the girls will follow him around instead of this other hot guy named Doug. How will he pull it off? By giving himself a bunch of anonymous Valentines, of course. Unsurprisingly, Mose objects to the plan and tells him that it'll turn him into a laughingstock. But Cookie goes ahead and does it anyway, and the plan actually works. The girls start to follow him around and shower him with love and attention. But then Doug confronts Cookie about it and asks him about the people that sent him those roses. Cookie tries to use the "they were all anonymous" excuse, but it's not working, and the girls that followed him realize that they never gave him a rose either. So yeah, it looks like Cookie is dead meat. But in the nick of time, Mose comes to his rescue and claims that she gave him those roses, and also claims that Cookie did the same for her. So the girls go back to following Doug, while the nerdy boys chase after the girl who got the second most roses, Missy. Ha! Good, I hated that bitch. Anyway, Mose and Cookie got out of that situation. But what about Ned? How will he get out of his? Well, earlier he found out that Coconut Head, one of the boys that was being harassed by the huge crew, is actually in love with them. So Ned comes up with a plan. He tells the girls to meet him in the janitor's closet at 3:20 so they can thank him for the Valentine by giving him 7 minutes in heaven. No, I'm not exaggerating, he literally says that.
Say what?
But it's not that kind of, you know, no, I'm stopping myself right there. Anyway, the huge crew thank Ned with the 7 minutes in heaven, and Mose and Cookie fear that they might have killed him. But much to their surprise, he's fine. In fact, there's not a scratch on him. How's that possible? Well, since it was dark in that closet, the huge crew couldn't see that they gave all their thanks to Coconut Head. Mission successful. The end. So that's the episode, and before I give you my final thoughts, let me give you a little note about this show, as well as the other shows Scott Fellows has made. They are filled with sound effects. This show had it, Big Time Rush had it, 100 Things to Do Before High School had it. Does anybody remember that show? I don't really remember it that much, but I had to look it up. And of course, Johnny Test had it. Now, I'm not saying sound effects are bad. I mean, I use them myself. And hell, if I did say I hate them, I'd be labeled a hypocrite. And in my opinion, I do think the sound effects in Ned's Declassified are used fine. Sometimes they could be overused, but it never got super annoying. And I do think it fits well with the cartoonish tone this show had too. And yes, it didn't have a lot of whip cracks.
You are not 100 sprayed of your bear.
Just not.
Episode 10.
The very best things falling.
Who's it on? Test it, frozen.
Hold on to the edge. From the 10 palace. I'm to his guys.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
So if you're not into that style, you may not like these shows that much. And I will admit that I think they can sometimes distract from the stories they try to tell, particularly Johnny Test. But if you don't mind the sound effects too much, then I think you'll still find value in these shows. Okay, now let's get to my final thoughts. What are they? Well, this was fun to watch again. It definitely has aged in the right places, and it did bring back a lot of good memories from my childhood. I used to watch this show a lot, and this episode would usually pop up on my TV. And now, after watching it with a more critical eye, I think it's a solid episode. The first thing I like are the tips, of course. They are very helpful. I also think it's impressive that this episode had so much stuff going on, and yet I could follow all of it really well. The individual stories are simple, relatable, and easy to understand. There's always that kid who just wants to give someone a nice Valentine, but sometimes an unfortunate accident just gets in the way. Then there are the kids that absolutely hate Valentine's Day because they wish they could get all that love and attention themselves. But just because they wish for it doesn't mean that they actually want everyone to give them that. It's like how it is for big YouTubers. You love to get more exposure, love, and attention, but you don't want it to suffocate you. And then there are those who want that attention so bad that they stoop to such desperate lows like Cookie. All of these situations happen to every one of us, and I really do like how this episode was able to tackle those kinds of dilemmas while still making it entertaining. It's also funny too. The overacting, the huge cruise rampage, Cookie's stupid plan, Ned finding out that his cards got mixed up, Moe's coming into Cookie's rescue even though she promised she wouldn't before, Missy banging her head against the column, as well as her getting chased by the boys. Did I mention that I hate her? And that ending where Coconut Head got all the love he could handle. The cartoonish slapstick, sound effects, and tone do really work in a show like this, and they exaggerate just enough in order to make it funny. The other little touches are great too, like the ending music has a bit of a change to it to reflect the mushiness of Valentine's Day. And there are some good bits of dialogue here and there. Now, after talking about the good stuff, what about the stuff that isn't good? Well, there are just a couple of minor things. One is, I wish the scene where Moe saves Cookie could have been funnier. If it just had a moment where Cookie gave Moe's a smart-ass comment like, "I thought you weren't gonna save me," or "I thought you weren't gonna rescue me," and then Moe's would jab back at it with, "Oh, shut up." That would have made the scene funnier in my opinion. But, as is, it's fine. That's just my personal preference. And two, we never did find out who gave Moe's all those roses. I mean, Moe's and Cookie went with the excuse that they sent those roses to each other to get out of their mess, but we never actually find out who really gave Moe's those 31 roses. Yeah, 31. It's not a big issue or anything, but it was a question that I wished was answered. But oh well, I guess we'll never know. So, in conclusion, I thought this was a solid episode. It had good lessons, good tips, funny moments, and a nice ending. It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. So, if I had to give it a final score, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Well guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys for watching, and also thank you for watching all these reviews during the month of love, and as always, my name is Sam, and good night everybody.